What's up, guys? I think there are more people here now, so I will go ahead and get started. I was just kind of waiting to see if who is going to comment first. That's what I want to see. I feel like it's usually Christian, but he may not be here today. And my laptop is actually functioning the way it's supposed to be today, so that's good. Okay, well, Wes is first, obviously. Okay, so that is Multiflora. Dragonite should be here. I think he had commented. I think it was Dragonite that said he was going to be here tonight. But we'll see. I know it was kind of short notice. I was just thinking, I had meant to post something a few days ago, and I was like, well, I mean, it's just been so busy. I don't know if anybody knows, but pretty much a big chunk of the U.S. got hit with a big blizzard, so the roads and everything have been terrible, and businesses have been closed, and grocery stores are empty, and just stuff like that. So it's been kind of chaotic, and I haven't had time to be like, okay, I'm gonna plan ahead and do a live stream. But I thought, well, maybe a lot of people will be home tonight, so I'll just go and do one anyway. I had 2 or 3 videos come out this week. I think it's been 3. I've actually been, I've had more time to sit down and record, so that's been nice, being able to focus on that a little bit more. I stepped out of my role, my management role at work, so that's allotted me a lot more time and a lot less stress to deal with, so. Spice, leave that alone. Of course, the minute I sit down to do something like this, all the cats have to come down and start getting into stuff, but it's okay. Come here. Come here. Jump up here. Come here, Dina. Dina. Oh, come here, my baby. Come here. Oh, come here. Oh, yes, there's my baby girl. Yeah, there's my baby girl right there. Lay down if you want to stay up here. Yeah, lay down. No. Here, just get in the chair. Get in the chair. Oh, man. Thought cats were supposed to shed less in the wintertime. Do. Oh. Got that. I actually had an interesting question recently. Somebody was asking me like about subs, like the number of subscribers I have, and they were like, "What is your goal?" And honestly, I don't know that I have a goal in mind. I just sort of have been letting it happen organically. I haven't necessarily gone out of my way to promote the channel through means of the internet, I guess. I haven't. I mean, I've told people about it in person, but I don't know. Maybe 10,000. I don't know. If I just threw a number out there where it's just like enough to where I can get to a lot of people, but not so many that it's like, oh my gosh, like. Although, I don't know. Maybe that means I could get away from Walmart, so maybe that wouldn't be too bad of a thing after all. But yeah. My main goal has always been to help people and to be a resource for people, so outside of that, I haven't really given it much thought. Okay. Well, one thing I wanted to address tonight, before I start showing a few things off, um, we are almost done with our plant care series that we've been doing. And at last count, I think we have 107 videos that I've recorded that are individual, like, genera of plants. I was going to do 110. Well, I didn't plan on that originally. I planned on 100, and then I kept finding more plants to do, and I'm like, okay. So it ended up being 110. And then once I looked around my house, I'm like, oh crap, like there are a couple of other plants I've missed. So now I have 4 that I haven't done, recorded yet, I should say. But I don't want to do all 4. I'm just going to do 2 of them. So I'm going to let you guys decide which 2 I do, because I'm just kind of interested to hear what interests you guys. And they're so random. I mean, I'm just sitting here looking at it, and I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of random. But I want to do 2 more just to make it an even, like 112. I don't know why 112. I guess just because I'll save, because the thing is, like, even though we're going to be done for a little bit with like the plant care stuff, we'll come back to it as I find other things. And I'll just keep these other 2 on the back burner. Because realistically, when you think, let's think about like cacti, for instance. There are so many different genera of cacti because there's been so much crossbreeding as they've evolved, and they all require basically the same kind of care. I mean, there's not really a whole lot of a difference in care from a gymnocalycium from a Pachycereus. Like they're both about the same. So I could do video after video, on these different cacti, and I'm just like, well, yeah, but that's kind of repetitive. So I don't know. I kind of wanted to get away from that a little bit. But like I said, I'm going to do 2 more, and I want you guys to decide for me. I'm just going to wait until I know there are a couple of more people here. And I do have a couple of plants that are flowering or getting ready to flower right now, and I'm pretty excited about it. I don't have I mean, most of our plants that we keep in the house are flowering house plants technically. They just don't normally flower indoors because they don't get the appropriate amount, mostly the appropriate amount of light, but sometimes water as well. So when I do get something to bloom, it's always kind of exciting. And one of these I did not expect to bloom at all, but it's got beautiful flowers on it now. Unfortunately, they don't smell, but that's okay. What was the other thing? I do also I have a list of videos that I want to make, and I've had this list for a while. There's some research I need to do on a couple of them, and some of them require me to purchase a few things, and I just haven't done that yet. So when I do that, I'll actually make them. But now that I have more time, and believe it or not, come here, Spice, more ability to go and do those things, I can actually make them. One in particular, I really wanted to study, well, with you guys, study different fruits. And I don't think a lot of people realize, because fruits are relevant to plants, maybe not directly relevant to houseplants, but when I learned about the different fruits in college, it was really eye-opening to me, because there are certain types of fruit that are related to each other that you wouldn't expect, and learning what family that some of these fruits fall into kind of makes you look at your fruit a little bit differently. That's the best way that I can explain it without going into detail and like spoiling a bunch of stuff for the video. But it's what was it? Like that an apple is actually a berry, botanically, I think, if I remember right, an apple's a berry, that kind of thing. And many of the foods that we consider vegetables are actually fruits. Things like squash and tomatoes and pumpkins, that you don't typically associate with being fruits actually are, for a couple of different reasons. But and then there's a whole category of fruit called dry fruit. Most of the things that we think of as fruit are the ones that have moisture, the ones that we eat. But there's a whole assortment of dry fruits like acorns. Oh no, acorn might actually be a seed. I know that there's one called a schizocarp, which is one of the coolest words in botany, I think. But yeah. I was also wanting to, because so when I visit Kansas City, Kansas City has a lot of good greenhouses for indoor plants. And we went to one of them together. Like I did one recording at a place called Suburban Lawn and Garden, which is actually in Lenexa, but they have a couple in Kansas City as well. It's an amazing greenhouse. I almost always find something there when I go, so I try not to go too much. But they're actually having their annual houseplant sale. I think it's like 20% for the next, I think, week or two. So I'm gonna try to go up there this week because I really want to go. Um, and I don't know, I don't need any more plants. I actually offloaded probably 8 or 9 plants today that I'm just like, I don't really need these. Every time I water, I'm like, man, I just need a little bit less for plants so that it doesn't take me quite so long to water. But uh, but there's a couple of other greenhouses in Kansas City that I want to take you guys to. It's just finding the right time to go when it's not too busy and preferably when I could maybe interview some of the people that work there, because I think that some of these places are smaller and they need a chance to shine. You know, I want to give them the opportunity to bring some business in for themselves, just because I really appreciate the work that some of these owners and things put into their shops. I wish I could have something like that. If I had enough money to start a business, I probably would. It'd be just neat to have a little tiny plant shop that people could come visit and everything. I went to one during Christmas, and it was just so eclectic. If you don't know what the word eclectic means, it just means there was kind of a lot of everything in this place. Mainly houseplants, but there were other items, pottery, just kind of little knickknacks, pots, of course, some different soil mixes. It was really nice. It was a good atmosphere. I don't want to spoil anything about it yet because I'm in collaboration with some of the people that work there right now. But yeah, so I want to show you guys what I get to see, because there are definitely cities that I have visited that it's like there's no greenhouses. Like, oh, well, I don't want to say what city, but I went to a city once and I'm looking for places to go, like to go find some houseplants. And I go to some of these places and they don't really have that much. It's not really that interesting. They have like your basic anthuriums and like a fiddle leaf fig, and there's just not a whole lot there that's interesting that makes you go in and be like, wow, that's cool. I've never seen that before. Or yeah, I don't know. Maybe that is partially because I've been to so many now that I'm like, I almost have these higher expectations for when I go to a new greenhouse. But what else did I have written down? I know that a lot of people, at least the people that have said something to me, are interested more in the science side of botany and of like houseplant care. And I am too. I mean, I went to school partially for that. And so like I want to make more videos that involve the science behind plants. Nothing too technical, we don't have to get into the all of the equations that go into photosynthesis and things like that, because it's very jargony and kind of unnecessary. But just knowing some of the basics of plant anatomy, like the names of some of the parts and some of the physiological processes that they go through, which includes photosynthesis, but like a basic version of it. Just because like when you're into a hobby, it's always nice to learn more about it, even if it's something you're not going to use. Like, knowing what kind of roots uh, that a fern has may not be something that necessarily affects your day-to-day houseplant care, but it's good to know. It's good to know that ferns have rhizomes, and that the rhizomes are basically a horizontal root system underground. Um, I mean, one instance where that might come up would be, we've talked a little bit, well, actually, we've talked a lot about cacti on this channel. And one of the reasons that cacti are so susceptible to root rot is because, well, technically it could be stem rot too, is because they have smaller fibrous roots that don't go super deep down into the ground like a tree does. Because in the desert, when it rains, the desert absorbs that water really quickly. And if there are competing plants, they too will absorb that water quickly. So cacti and succulents usually don't have really deep, complex root systems. They're very shallow, fibrous, so that they can just absorb that water really quickly. Kind of like grass. Grass has a fibrous root system that just absorbs water at the surface very fast. But something like a tree or most other plants have deeper like tap roots and things like that. They go deep into the ground because the ground in these places usually stays saturated enough. Some can even go as deep as the water table. Some are invasive, like the roots of a willow tree. Willow trees have been known to bust open like cement pools. They've been known to bust open sewer lines, things like that, just trying to get to water. So just think twice before you go planting a willow tree in your backyard, I suppose. But yeah, not too bad. What else? Early on, if some of you remember, about a year ago, we did some top 5 videos, like some different ranking videos that I kind of compiled, and I'd like to do some more of those. Maybe we can come up with some different ideas for what you guys might like to see. Because one thing I love about doing those is that I like hearing what your guys's like opinion is about these videos. Not about the videos themselves, but like if I said what are the top 5 easiest plants to take care of, like what are the top 5 that in general are the easiest for people to not kill. And everybody might have a different list, but there will probably be 2 or 3 plants that's on everybody's list. For example, philodendron. I mean, philodendron in general is one of the easier houseplants to take care of. That's why there's so darn many of them. Like, I think there's probably more philodendron houseplants as far as different colors, different species, varieties, cultivars. There's probably more of those than any other houseplant. And now, hang on, I'm scanning through my head. Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, there's a lot of peperomias too. And yeah, so that would probably be one that's on a lot of people's lists. But one that I think is pretty easy would be like Strelitzia. I think any Strelitzia I've had has done pretty well, other than one that I think I left out in the sun for too long once. But that might not be one that people immediately think of. And I did do a top 5 easiest plant video. I just don't remember what all was on it. I know cacti and succulents were on it because those are very easy. And if you do kill them, it's just because it's probably because of a watering issue more than anything else. But cacti, succulents, epipremnum, philodendron. Wow, I just don't remember what the other 2 were. Aglaonema might have been on there just because Aglaonema is so easy to take care of. But yeah. But yeah, and I'm always open to hearing like different things that you guys want to see. You know, I have my own list and I need to, step up and get through that, but I like taking requests, because sometimes when you guys give me an idea, when you have an idea and it lets me kind of sit with it and maybe it pushes me to do more research. Because unfortunately, once you're out of college, unless you go back to college and get like your master's or your doctorate or something and you're doing like postdoctoral work, through some program, you don't really get to revisit stuff unless you're doing something like this. So I like doing homework, as weird as that sounds. I like doing homework, I like doing research. It's fun for me. But if anybody out there is lurking in the wings, feel free to comment and say something. I'm really just rambling until somebody says something, more or less. I had also I had done a survey once about like different topics. I forget what the topics were, but I do remember that not a lot of people were interested in outside stuff as far as like outside plants. And I totally get that because that's a whole separate channel. Like now you're getting into, well, I wouldn't call it horticulture, but you're getting into more like gardening, and gardening that's a whole different ball game. Now we do talk about some things as far as when to put your plants outside, where to put them when you put them outside, depending on which plant it is. Even some things that could be considered temporary house plants that you can keep inside for a little bit, but eventually maybe they probably need to go outside, or maybe they are supposed to be outside and you overwinter them, you know, that kind of thing, like gardenia. Um, Although honestly, my experience with gardenia is if it's inside for longer than a week, it's going to get spider mites. That's been my experience with those. But yeah. So yeah, like I don't necessarily like nothing on my list really. I'm looking at it. I've got two actually. Nothing on my list has anything to do with being outside other than one thing. There is a tree called ginkgo biloba, and the ginkgo biloba is a really interesting plant, just because it has kind of a neat history. From a taxonomy perspective, it's very unique, and it showcases a wing of plant evolution that we might not otherwise know about or have if those plants weren't still alive. So I just want to do a video about that just because to me, it's interesting. It's probably my favorite tree. And if anyone's ever seen one, you can't miss it once you see them because they are the only plant that has fan-shaped leaves, and they're literally like the like the Asian look, what are they called? Like the hand fans, but there's another name for them. But beautiful leaves, very old, rudimentary, ancient type of leaf that does not exist in any place else. As far as that's about, I mean, there's other things on my list, but that's really the main ones I wanted to bring up as far as what I'm going to do, just to kind of give you guys a preview of what's coming up probably in the next few weeks, especially because it's winter, so there's not a whole lot I can do outside right now other than freeze because there's still 8 inches of snow on the ground from the last blizzard we had a week ago, and yeah, it gets dark at 6 o'clock. It's just depressing, but it's okay. Spring will be here before we know it. And of course, I mean, winter brings its own set of complications for houseplants just because you've got your central heat running, you're vaporizing so much of the humidity out of the air unless your home has like a humidifier on it. But even then, I still run my humidifiers during the winter time because plants tend to prefer, tropical plants, I should say, tend to prefer humidity around 60. I mean, 50 to 60 is kind of your window. I try to keep mine around 60%. 70 and above is too much. Then you're getting into like mold growth and things like that if you don't have good ventilation. But below 50 is not ideal for tropicals. Below 50 is fine for succulents because succulents, they don't care about humidity. They just want to be watered every great once in a while and they're happy. But what can I show you guys first? One thing I've been trying to figure out, because we do talk a lot about taxonomy here and there on the channel, because I think it's important. I think it's important to study taxonomy so that we know how plants are related, so that we can give names to plants and identify them. Like just like people, you know, names are important to people as much as they are plants and pets and everything. Like we want to be able to know what we're talking about. So this plant, it's also called, the common name is a Mexican fence post, and it's just a neat little, not necessarily geometric, but it's a nice symmetrical cactus. I mean, this one is pretty tall considering I didn't pay that much for it. And when I was kind of studying the taxonomy behind it, it actually kind of falls into two different genera. One of them is the genera or the genus Pachycereus, which Pachycereus makes me think totem pole cactus, which I don't know if you guys have ever seen one. Kind of looks like a booby cactus, but without the booby part on it. And the totem pole cactus actually doesn't have spines on it, which is kind of interesting. But this also falls into a genus called Lophocereus, and I've been trying to find out if Lophocereus is like an old genus that like is defunct now, and this just officially got moved. I just don't know, but we'll see. This is one I would like to actually do a video on. I haven't decided if I'm going to, but it's just a neat cactus, but you just have to be careful with cacti like this that you don't overwater them because they're really hard to salvage. Once they get stem rot, it's really hard to save them. It's usually easier just to buy a new one. So I don't have my little stand with me, but so I guess we were talking earlier about voting for like which two plants I should do a video on. This was one of them, and I I want to make sure that I know what genus it belongs in first. Yeah, Wes, I don't know. It is a little quiet in here. Normally there's a lot more people here, so I don't know if everybody's just out shoveling snow or what they're doing, but hopefully we get some people commenting soon. Another one I have here, this is a little pharaoh cactus, and it is called pharaoh cactus obviously because it is ferocious. You guys can probably see the hooks on those spines. That is not something you want to get in your skin because not only are they hooked, but they're very, very rigid. Like I'm pushing on it and it's not moving at all. Like it's solid. So this could easily puncture, no problem. Um, and it does have some new growth happening, just very slow. Cactus growth is most of the time extremely slow, to the point of frustration if somebody likes to see a lot of progress in like growth and everything. But I think that cacti, especially cacti like this, are very structural, so they can be eye appealing for a long period of time because their structure is not really going to change that much. The totem pole cactus that I was talking about, I actually have one. I'm looking at it over in my kitchen, and it hasn't been doing well for a couple of reasons. But over time, over the year, well, it's probably been 2 or 3 years that I've had this thing, the growth on it has kind of done different things, and it's become a little bit unsightly. And it's been getting plenty of light. I mean, it's not for lack of light. It's just it has a bit of an issue. It might be corking, if you guys know what corking is. Um, I'm still kind of trying to figure out what's wrong with it. I'm thinking about just chopping it off, like the top off, and letting it kind of start over, but we'll see. Anyway, the pharaoh cactus is another one that I might do a video on, just because it is kind of a vicious looking plant, and something about that to me is appealing. I don't know why. It's kind of fun. Let's see. And then we can shift a little bit into, well, actually this is a big shift. Let's get that out of there. This is a maidenhair fern. The genus is Adiantum, and Adiantum is not a plant that you're going to have for very long, probably. Adiantum belongs in a terrarium. There's really no other way to keep them. Even when I touch it, I mean, sometimes I think you guys can see just how soft this is when I touch it. When I touch it, it's just feathery soft. And we can look at those fronds and we can see how paper thin the little leaves like on the fronds are. They are so paper thin. So because of that, they're going to need very high humidity. They're going to need to be kept consistently moist, and that's just not something that is easy to provide inside. I'm gonna try to put this one in a terrarium and keep it for as long as I can because I know they live a long time. I've seen them. I've seen them, of course, in greenhouses. I've seen them get like if the plant pot was sitting on the table, I've seen them get like this big. Like they're big, so they can get nice and large. But it's hard to keep them alive long enough to let them get that way. And what a shame too, because it's so beautiful, like the shape of it and the shape of the tiny leaves on it. It's gorgeous. I don't know. I have a love for ferns, but ferns generally are not the easiest plants to care for. This is just like the expert level fern, right? The only thing that would maybe be harder to take care of than adiantum would be things you're starting to get into like carnivorous plants. And anybody who, takes care of carnivorous plants, they'll be like, oh, carnivorous plants aren't that hard. And once you master them, no, they're not. I mean, anything is not that hard once you know how to do it. But for the common houseplant person, the typical houseplant enthusiast, they're not going to know the finer points of how to take care of a, you know, a no, not nephrolepis, that's a fern. Nepenthes, the pitcher plants. They're not going to know how to take care of that because those are tricky. I want to get into that myself a little bit because I would like to do some videos on carnivorous plants. I know that nobody has specifically said, hey, I want to know more about carnivorous plants, but they are really fascinating, and they're kind of a little bit of a conundrum because they have to supplement their nutrition with that of, you know, insects and amphibians and, you know, meat. Just because they grow and have developed in such nutrient poor soil that they can't get everything they need from photosynthesis, or they don't get a ton of light from photosynthesis just because of competing plants and things like that. So anyway, adiantum, that's another one that I thought about doing a video on, because we have done a lot of other ferns. We did nephrolepis, and we did asplenium, the bird's nest fern. We did which one? Divalia, the rabbit's foot fern. We did Microsorum, which was the kangaroo paw fern. There was another one we did. We didn't. Oh, Oceaniopteris. We did Oceaniopteris, which is like the mini tree fern. Oceaniopteris is a really cool fern. There was one Phlebodium. We didn't do Phlebodium. That's like the blue star ferns. And I don't think we did Dryopteris either. That's the autumn fern. Now I had one recently, and it was kind of a salvage plant that I got on clearance, and I kept hoping that it would kind of bounce back and start to fill out. But the problem was they had left it in the sun for way too long. Like they had it next to the window in the sun, and the thing was bleached yellow. So there was no getting it to grow back in the middle because it had gone bald on top. And when I brought it home, I put it in the shade, and I didn't give it basically any light for like a week. And the green actually came back. Like it stopped turning yellow and it turned green again. But I kept it for a few more weeks, and I couldn't get any more new growth out of it. So at that point, I was just like, well, this is why I don't typically buy like rehab plants, because I don't like waiting for them to like bounce back. I would rather just buy a plant that is new and strong and just ready to be repotted and everything. But yeah. So then the last thing that I thought about doing, is this gonna flower again? I'm actually gonna show you guys something that flowered. No, I don't think it is. That's okay. There is a little, I did this planter. I think I did this planter on a live stream maybe 2 months ago. There is a little succulent right here, and I'm gonna see if I can get a little bit closer on that one. And then I've got another one of the same thing on the other side right there. And they're kind of neat little, they're just neat, tiny little baby succulents. They don't really get that big. They always stay kind of small. And those are called Titanopsis. And Titanopsis is a little bit, I don't want to say rare, but it's not one that you see very much. And I think they're really neat. I don't know why the other one's doing so well. One of them is a lot bigger than the other one. Probably because it's been in the shadow of this big aloe. But if you're wondering, the ones that have the little star, they look like little stars, I think. But in the front here, these are Trichodiadema, which is just another type of succulent. These things are not thorns. You can actually touch them, and they don't do anything. It did flower, and I don't know. I feel like it wants to flower again, but I don't know if it will. I guess we'll just have to see. But this aloe in the middle actually did flower. And this is an aloe pheasant breast. It's a hybrid, so I don't have a specific species name for you, but it has these beautiful peach-colored, I would call that peach, I think, peach pink flowers, and they are very long. And actually, if you look at like this one right here, and if I can get a good backdrop on it, I can't really. If you look right here, you can see the pistil actually coming out of the flower there. Now, if we were going to look at this flower and we're going to say, well, what would pollinate a flower like this? Probably something with a long tongue or a long beak. So that's going to be potentially a hummingbird could pollinate something like this, or more likely a butterfly that has a really long proboscis. And a proboscis on an insect is basically just the part that they sort of feed with, that they drink with. And if you've ever seen a butterfly kind of sitting on a flower eating, you'll see this thing that kind of uncurls where their mouth is, and they'll actually just be doing this, tick, 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 like right on the flower. It's really neat to watch, but it's something, flowers developed alongside birds and insects, and the plant sort of designed these flowers, if you want to call it that, to meet the needs of local pollinators. Now, of course, this is a hybrid, so yeah, it didn't evolve like that. We created this. Ah, there's my brother. Hi, Zach. Hi, I'm back. It's a quiet night for some reason. I don't know why it's so quiet, but that's okay. But yeah, like I think that when I got this aloe, it was sort of an impulse buy because I didn't necessarily want to buy another aloe, but it was really rigid. Like you can kind of tell that this thing is really rigid. It's got a nice pattern on the leaves and everything. And the fact that it's flowering just is a bonus. It wasn't flowering when I bought it, but I think in the live stream I did maybe 2 weeks ago, we were kind of looking at this and saw the flower on the inside and we knew that something was going to happen. And I checked a few days later, and this thick stalk was coming out of the middle and had these beautiful flowers on it. So pretty neat. This is also a good example of why flowering takes so much energy out of plants. So let's say you have an aglaonema, and your aglaonema has this beautiful foliage, and it's just gorgeous. Oh, my aglaonema is right there. Hang on, I've got one. Yes, thank you for that. Oh. Let's say I have this aglaonema. And this one's really cool because it's a narrow leaf aglaonema. Most of the ones you see have thicker leaves. Most of them have beautiful coloring, different shapes to them and everything. But the fact that this one's narrow is kind of uncommon. But aglaonemas, when they flower, they get something called a spadix, which is just kind of looks like a little corn cob, and it has a leaf over the top, and the leaf is called a spathe. It's basically the same type of flower that you see on a peace lily. Well, both a peace lily and an aglaonema are aroids. They are in the family Araceae, so that's why they have the same flower. But since the flowers, at least on these, are not very showy, they don't smell, they're not colorful, they're unremarkable, right? Like the flower I just showed you on the aloe, beautiful. But these, not so much. So what a lot of people do is when they see those flowers coming up, they'll actually just clip them off, just because it's going to give the plant more energy to produce more foliage, better leaves. It just kind of keeps it, I don't want to say in better health, because flowering is not unhealthy. I mean, that's what plants are supposed to do, is flower, if they're flowering plants. But it's just something that it's a preference. Usually if I see flowers, no matter what it is, I'll probably just leave it, just because I think it's cool when plants flower. This particular one has not flowered yet. It does have some new growth coming up. I don't know if you guys can see some of the new leaves popping out here. This one, it lost a few of its bottom leaves, and I think because it got a little too dry in here until I turned my humidifier on. But it's been doing better now, and I've been trying to water it a little bit more, even though it's wintertime. I've been trying to water it a little bit more just to kind of compensate for the heat and everything. Because when it gets like zero Fahrenheit, it's not pretty. The heater has to run a lot so that I don't get cold, so the plants don't get cold. Why were we even talking about that? We were talking about flowers. Oh, right. Well, we're just talking about how flowers take so much energy. I mean, this stalk is so thick. Like, it takes the plant a lot of resources to create that. I'm wondering, because we can still see that this has more to do on top. Like, I'm wondering if the flowers on the bottom will stay there until all of the flowers on the top have bloomed as well, because that would be really pretty. I think it will. So far, they don't show any signs of wilting or giving up or anything. And I did water this a few days ago, so it's good. The soil is still fairly moist. Um, Christian's not here, so I can say that because he hates that word. But since we're talking about flowers, and wait, is this the right one? Yeah, this is the right one. So this is a shooting star Hoya, and the species name is actually Hoya. Is it multiflora? Yeah, Hoya multiflora. I was recommended this plant by a friend, a fellow plant lady who is a crazy plant lady. Hi, Tori, if you're watching. And she's like, go ahead and get this. You know, it's definitely going to flower. And I'm like, I'm not that into Hoyas. I mean, I have my Hoya obovata right there, which I love because Hoya obovata is a gorgeous plant. The pattern on them, the waxy, thick leaves and everything, I love it. But most Hoyas, I'm not that impressed by. I know that some people swear by them, but I'm just like, whatever. But she's like, go ahead, buy it. You know, you don't see them that much. I'm like, okay. And I was also just itching to buy something. And so I got it. It's been doing fine. It hasn't dropped any leaves. I've kept it under my grow light. I've been taking care of it. And then I kind of noticed the other day, I'm looking, and if you guys can see right, oh yeah, you can see it all right, right there. That is going to flower. I wish I could get closer without getting blurry. But yeah, those are going to open up. And Hoya flowers bloom on something called, I believe, is it a raceme or is it a peduncle? See, this is why we need to get into botany again, like the science part of it, so that I can remember some of these things. It might be a peduncle and not a raceme. Anyway, they bloom on that, and my obovata bloomed over the summer, and it was gorgeous. Beautiful pink flowers. They had a very mild fragrance to them that it wasn't too strong, but it was still very memorable. And I'm hoping that this will be the same thing. Excuse me. They look like they might be yellow. I don't know if they will be yellow. They might be white, but I will definitely post a video or something when this does flower so that you guys can see it. I kept looking to see if there were any more, but so far I think there's only the one. And that same thing happened with my Hoya obovata. It only put out one cluster of flowers. It's not like, you know, when like an Asiananthus flowers, it usually has a lot of flowers on it. Or a Christmas cactus, like the whole thing kind of explodes into flowers. But I don't think Hoya do that. Hoya, Hoya in general are a little finicky. They can be a little finicky. Their roots don't like to be messed with. They like good drainage, but they still want to be kept, you know, a little moist at times. So there's just a balance there that some people have trouble finding. And some species are easier than others. I will say that so far these two have been easy. But yeah, again, the Hoya lovers are going to swear by them. But yeah, Wes says moist and then he laughs. Let me think. What else? Well, nobody is commenting to vote on the plant I should do next, but that's okay. I can definitely present that next time, or maybe I'll just pick two myself. I've done a lot of cacti recently. That's why I was kind of leaning towards the fern and maybe the Titanopsis, but I don't know. They would all be easy videos to do. They'd probably be less than 5 minutes. Maybe I'll just do them all. But I'm trying to think because I'm trying to think if I've gotten some new plants recently, and I'm just trying to remember which ones. I mean, you saw the aloe, or not the aloe, the agave. I bought an agave, and the thing is vicious. I mean, agave spines are so sharp, and I've poked myself more on agave plants than I have on cactuses, probably cacti. So I don't even know why I bought it, because I get annoyed that I get stabbed, but it's okay. What else? I did get a lot of cuttings from my friend, the same friend that recommended the Hoya, and they're doing okay. Most of my cuttings, well, no, not that side. Most of my cuttings, oh, they're down here. There's like a little prop station right there, but they're doing okay. I don't typically like cuttings just because, um, hang on, they really get you when you put them in unexpected bags and tell no one. Oh, well, yeah. So tonight, when I bought a replacement for that same agave because I found one that was better looking, so I was just gonna switch them out. And I put it in a Walmart bag, and I kind of tucked it in the center console. And Wes was driving home. Well, we stopped someplace, and when he went to put his seatbelt on, he stuck his hand on that bag and like stabbed the crap out of himself because I didn't tell him I bought it. I thought I had stuck it out of the way enough, and yeah, he was like, why didn't you warn me about this bag full of needles? Like, so, hey, Esquiru's here. How's it going? Actually, it's been a minute since I've heard from Esquiru. Hopefully, you're doing well. Esquiru. I don't know. Esquiru. We need a nickname for you, I think. But yeah, they are definitely stabby. So be careful if you get an agave, because they will stab the crap out of you. At ESLK. Esker. Okay, that's better. For a second, I was like, wait a minute, what? Esker. Esker. I've got to remember that. Esker. Well, Esker, hopefully you're doing well. Other than my spouse and my brother, there has been nobody here tonight. So it's just kind of a slow night, but that's okay. I'm also trying to think what video I did temporary houseplants recently. I think Syndapsis. We're gonna have Syndapsis come out either tomorrow or Tuesday. Syndapsis turned out to be a really long video. It's like 18 minutes long. Just because once I got going, I didn't know where to stop. Like it's just I actually like Syndapsis more than I realized. Carlos is here. Hola, Carlos. It's okay. You don't have to know anything about plants. You can still comment. Um, and then I have Zamia and Zamioculcas in the works. I've already shot them. Just need to edit them, and then they're going to come out. And really, that's where it's going to stop. Other than these other couple of plants here that I need to shoot, which maybe I'll do that tonight. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I mean, I've got everything out and set up. Maybe I should just do it tonight. But yeah. I did get recently, well, when I went and got those cuttings, because there was like a Secret Santa exchange, and that's how I ended up with the cuttings. But I also ended up with this begonia, and it's actually a really pretty begonia. I am not really a fan of begonias just because they're not the easiest plants to take care of. I mean, obviously, like I said, they're really beautiful. I love the asymmetrical leaves, and this one's called I think the variety is My Special Angel because, of course, a lot of people say that begonia leaves look like angel wings, which I can totally see that. But this is not a begonia rex. I think this is a maculata. Begonia rex is the more difficult of the two. Begonia rex doesn't tend to get very big. Maculata is also called the cane begonia because it does grow more vertically. It does get kind of a stronger stem on it like a cane. And I think because of that, it's less weak, shall we say. So, I mean, I've had people tell me in the past that they've had some cane begonias live for decades, literally decades. I don't know how they did that. I've never had very good luck with begonias, but I'm going to give this one a try because it was a gift. And so, I mean, I already see a a little bit of browning on some of the leaf tips, which probably means I just need to water it again. Although it doesn't really feel dry. It doesn't really feel dry. I don't know. It's probably a humidity issue, but anyway, it's still doing well considering I've had it for 3 weeks, maybe a month. And I had a tricolor Sangonium, and it wasn't a very good plant to begin with. The way that it was cut, it wasn't really like when you think about a Syngonium, you think about something it just comes right out of the middle of the soil, right? And as it grows, it kind of grows out kind of like this, you know, up and up. And eventually you have to kind of stake them up because Syngonium trails, it's a vine. Well, the one that I had, it wasn't ever going to do that, the way it was cut. And it ended up eventually just kind of kicking the bucket. But I salvaged one leaf and we planted it, and now it has 2 baby leaves coming out. They do not look tricolor, they look green. But even if they end up being green, it's still going to be kind of a cool recovery story that we managed to save it. Because this is actually, the leaf I put in here is an actual node cutting. Like I cut, around the node and planted it just like I would anything else. So if it survives and it keeps growing, this will actually be a better plant than it was. It just might take a while because of course this happens when I think it was in December or something when plant growth is slowing down and everything. But hopefully in the spring when I start fertilizing it again, I don't know, I could fertilize it now. It doesn't really matter. I don't know. I'll think about it. That way, just to give it that boost it needs to kind of start recovering, although it's doing fine. Those leaves aren't even very arrow-shaped, which is interesting. I don't know. But anyway, I'm trying to think of some other plants that you guys have seen that I've shown you that I'm like, oh yeah, they might want to see like that as an update. This is my Cryptanthus and my little fish. And Cryptanthus is a bromeliad, so it's in the family Bromeliaceae. I'm not really a big fan of bromeliads, but this one I've actually kind of grown attached to. Only because I had several people be like, oh, you've got to try Cryptanthus, you got to try Cryptanthus. I know you don't like bromeliads, and it's a neat plant. It's neat because it looks a little dead, which is interesting. I love the wavy shape of the leaves, kind of how they go up like that. And this one, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 pups on it right now that are kind of popping out of there because I think it flowered already. And when bromeliads, when bromeliads flower, they start to decline. The mother plant starts to decline because it starts to make these pups, and eventually the mother plant dies, and you can have like the pups that you can mess with. But it doesn't always happen right away. And who told me that? Christian might have been the one that told me that. It just sort of happens slowly in some bromeliad species, or genera, I suppose. So yeah, I think this one's going to be here to stay for a while. I don't know why I put it in the fish, but I don't know. I think it looks good in the fish. The fish was from Wes. Like he's been getting into the idea of these interesting decorative pots. So let me get that back there. What else do I have for you guys today? Oh boy. Let me move this out of the way and no, I don't want to show that because that's in a video. One thing that I did get, it's kind of big, but I'm gonna try to show it to you anyway. I got this Tenanthe, and I don't remember the exact species or variety of Tenanthe that this is, but it does have that kind of neat strips of yellow variegation in the leaves. It's honestly, it's not even really yellow. It's kind of a lime green chartreuse. That's the color name I hear a lot of times when people talk about lime green. They say chartreuse. Is it chartreuse? Yeah, I think it is. It's kind of a weird word, but yeah, so there's one there that's like almost like half solid with the kind of yellow green. Tenanthe, Tenanthy's a neat plant. Um, if I can get it to stay there. Ooh, that thing was heavy because I just watered it. Tenanthy, of course, is one of the prayer plants. There's really five genera within the prayer plants, the house plants that are in the family Maranthaceae. Tenanthy is one of them. Stramanthe, Goapertia, Calathea, and Maranta, of course. And Tenanthy of the five is not that difficult. Maranta can be pretty difficult just because Maranta needs a good balance of water and it can't get too low of light, but then when it gets too much light it starts to brown and wrinkle and whatever. But I think that Tenanthe is pretty easy. And Calathea and Goapertia are like this, and they're so like this that there's not very many true Calatheas left. A lot of them got reclassified into Goapertia, but regardless of which one they're in of those two, they're just not necessarily the easiest plants to take care of, especially if you guys have heard of a white fusion Calathea. Probably one of the most beautiful plants ever, but it's very, very difficult to care for. As it goes, some variegated plants are just more difficult. They don't grow as well because they don't photosynthesize as much. So it's just what happens. Let me see. I'm looking around. I think I'm down to about 70 plants. I was a little over 80 and I got rid of some today, and I think I'm back down to 70. Esker asks me what happened to not liking yellow variegation. I still don't like yellow variegation. For anyone who doesn't know, I just think that yellow variegation looks like the plant is sick. Because typically, if a plant's going to lose a leaf, it turns yellow. Like the plant pulls out the chlorophyll and all the nutrients and everything, and then it drops it. And the yellow that's left is most likely from the carotenoids in the leaf, whereas chlorophyll reflects green light, so it looks green to us. Carotenoids reflect like yellows and oranges. So for houseplants, it's usually yellow. But yeah, that's why tree leaves turn yellow too, because you're seeing the carotenoids in the leaves. But yes, Esker, I still don't like yellow variegation. This is pushing it. I mean, this is almost yellow, but it is still green. I know you probably can't tell by the light, but it is still green. The thing is, that's a big Tenanthe. Like, you don't see Tenanthes that big very much. That came in when we got our houseplant shipment at work. Actually, it was on Christmas Eve. And what happened was they typically only ship, in the big pots like that, they only ship like 5 or 6 different things. Like Ravinia, the Majesty palms, they ship Monstera deliciosas, they ship snake plants, and peace lilies, and usually some sort of cane plant. And for some reason, this one Tenanthe was in that shipment. And that just happens sometimes, where they'll throw something extra in there. So I just thought that was kind of neat that there was this extra thing. And Wes was like, well, those leaves are kind of cool. So then I'm like, well, if you like it, that means I can buy it. So, yeah. We'll see. Hopefully I can get it to stay nice. I have a Goapertia orbifolia. And if you guys don't know what that is, like, it's a beautiful, it's too far away for me to go get, but it's beautiful round leaves that are kind of green with like a light green striping in the middle. I love it so much. But the problem with them is, like I said, Goapertia, they need more humidity. And I don't think I've been giving it proper humidity, maybe not keeping it as wet as it wants to be, because it's starting to get kind of some brown edges, and it's just so frustrating. But it is getting a lot of big new growth in it. Like, these leaves are at least that big. So I don't know. I'm looking at it and I'm just like, I love you. Please stop browning. But that's okay. Normally, if a plant starts to get too brown, I'm like, get that thing out of here. I'm seeing what else. I have a Strelitzia, and it's a Reginae, which Strelitzia reginae is the orange flowers. Strelitzia Nicolai is the white flowers. They're the ones that get really tall. Well, those don't usually flower, at least not in the house. But Reginae, I might be pronouncing the species wrong, but that one will get orange flowers, or in that case, it's yellow flowers. It's never flowered for me yet because it's small. Like, it's not small, small. It's, I don't know, it's probably about as big as this Tenanthe is. So I'm hoping I'm going to stick it outside this summer, and I'm hoping I can get it to pop out a big, beautiful bird of paradise flower because they're so neat. If you've never seen a Strelitzia flowering in person, it's fascinating. I mean, you can see pictures, but it just doesn't do it justice. Like, when you actually see this thing up close, it's kind of a marvel. It just, the shape of the flower is, I don't know. It's really bizarre that nature can do stuff like that. But I'm trying to think. I'm trying to give you some updates on some other stuff uh, that I've had. So I bought that. I bought that Norfolk pine for Christmas because I wanted to do a video on it, and I did, and it's still doing well. I I've been trying to mist it, not every day, but like every other day, and I've kept it pretty close to my humidifier, and it seems to be doing okay. It's not turning brown. It's not dropping needles or anything like that. So I don't know. I'm pleased with it. Will it stay that happy and healthy? I don't know. Maybe not, but we'll see. I know a lot of people have problems with them, and they're not the easiest plants to take care of either. I mean, Araucaria is the genus name, and they hail from Norfolk Island, just off the coast of Australia. Well, not just off the coast, like 800 miles or something, but really bizarre that they only hail from that little island. But yeah. My palms are doing pretty well too, surprisingly. I had a Ravinia, which is the Majesty palm. I had one, and I returned it today just because I'm like, I don't really need this. I got it kind of on sale just because it was kind of, we got new stuff in, so I'm like, but I don't know. Ravinia is just not a good house plant, honestly. I mean, they're just not. Unless you have a window that just gets a ton of light. Um, they're just not good otherwise. They need so much light that they start to decline. They start to get brown tips pretty easily, and it's whatever. But I really love palms because I don't live anywhere near the beach, so it kind of brings a little bit of the islands and the beach to me, um, which is nice. But especially during the wintertime when it's disgusting outside. Um, Let me see. Let me check one thing here. Do okay. Oh, so I've got a plant up there. You guys can probably see it right there. I don't want to bring it down because it's a surprise. You just need to watch my video. How's it going, Leaf Year? I like that name. Hope you're doing well also. We've just been kind of hanging out, and I've been rambling a bit about the goings on with my plants lately. Also, I hope everyone had a good New Year. Hopefully, everyone had a safe New Year and a good holiday. I've really tried to make some good goals for myself this year, maybe unrelated to plants, but I've been trying to make some good goals so that I can stick to them. And certain things that I've just been wanting to do, books to read, games to play, things like that, that I really want to get done this year now that I'm not so hog-tied to having to work. So that should be nice. Well, good. I'm glad. Um, I as far as plants go, like my goal has been just to have a little bit less. I've been wanting to just scale back just a little bit, and mostly because of watering, not because I don't like having a lot of plants. I mean, who doesn't like having a lot of plants? But it's just a watering thing, and there are certain plants that I want to buy and start to do more with. Um, for example, we were talking about carnivorous plants earlier. I want to get I want to dip my toes into that a little bit. I don't plan on becoming like the carnivorous plant expert by any means. And there's certain ones like Dionea, which is the Venus flytrap. Those are so hard to keep alive. Even people that keep carnivorous plants don't keep those sometimes just because they're so hard. But greetings, Cincinnati Drew. Yeah, sure. Ask away. Well, when you say elephant ear, do you mean like alocasia? Or, I mean, there's a couple of plants that are called elephant ear. I think colocasia might be called that too. But yeah, go ahead. I don't have a ton of experience with alocasias. Uh, I did have one that that did pretty well just because the leaves seemed like they were pretty hardy. I forget, it was called Dragon something. It's the one that I featured in my alocasia video, if you guys wanted to flashback like a year ago. The leaves are starting to turn yellow and wilt. Should I cut them off or wait for them to turn brown and shrivel up? Well, it kind of depends. So if it's all the way yellow, you can probably go ahead and take it off. If it's only partially yellow and there's still green in it, I would maybe wait a little bit, just because if there is still some green in the leaf, that green is still contributing to photosynthesis, and the plant will take care of that itself. I'm always hesitant to cut off leaves that are still providing for the plant, if that makes any sense. But it's also kind of up to you. I mean, it's not like it's going to kill it if you cut off a leaf that has a little bit of green in it, but that's just me personally. Of course, and thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. I love I love meeting new people, and one of my favorite things to do on this channel, as you'll see, is interact with you guys. When I make videos, uh, the thing I look forward to most about making videos is the comments and getting to interact. So I love that. I love getting to help you guys. That's really the only reason I'm here, you know. So for you guys. But it's been a fun adventure too, just like going places and looking at plants and thinking about doing videos about them and studying more. Like it's um, really pushed me to increase my own plant knowledge so that I can be a good resource for you guys. Any of you guys have a favorite plant that you want to share in the chat? Like whether it's a very specific plant, like a species, or just a general, like a specific genera of plants that you enjoy, specific genus. I always get those confused. It's tough, but if I had to pick a favorite, I would probably pick ficus, just because I've always been a fan of ficus. I think I have more ficus plants than any other plant right now, um, which isn't a ton. I think I have six right now, six ficus plants. Just because, like, when I was growing up, my mom always had big ficus plants, these big trees in the house, and I always thought that was very interesting. And I've told this story a couple of times, but when I would go like stay the night at somebody's house as a kid, and their parents wouldn't have any plants, it would just feel so barren, like a museum or something. I don't know. Same with pets. I think I think pets provide a lot of atmosphere to a home. I say that I have four cats and a fish and a snake and two hissing cockroaches, and yeah. Ugh. I mean, I don't think that's crazy. I think that's I've done that. I feel like a lot of people have done that, where they're like, oh, I'm just gonna go do this thing and maybe look at this one plant, and then they come home and their back seat is full of plants. Guilty. So, what did you get, Leaf Year? Did you get anything like really special? I was mentioning earlier that I'm probably going to go to this greenhouse, and they're having their annual sale that's like 20% off. And I don't need any more plants by any means, but like 20% off if I found the right plant that either maybe I haven't tried it before, maybe it's a new genus that I've never experimented with, or I could do a video on it. I mean, I'll buy it. I'll try almost any plant once. I even went as far, I bought an albuca, and I don't know if you guys have heard of what an albuca is. It did not go well. The albuca did not survive. The thing may still have been alive, but it didn't look like it. Albuca is just one of those weird plants. I think it actually goes dormant in the summer, and I thought, well, okay, if it goes dormant in the summer, then why did it lose all of its leaves? But I forget who had recommended that to me. It might have been Planty Mandy. Monstera deliciosa, Alocasia poly. I have not heard of that one. Pothos P and J. Oh, okay, yeah. Silver peperomia, pink polka dot, and crinkle leaf begonia. I see, and I was just saying too that I'm not very good with begonias, but I'm glad that some people are. And silver peperomia. I'll have to look that one up too. I love pearls and jade pothos. I think they're beautiful. I don't have one. I've kind of gotten away from epipremnum a little bit just because I do still have one. I have a Baltic blue epipremnum palladium right there. That's probably my favorite one. And then Cincinnati Drew says, I mainly grow Phalaenopsis orchids and Amaryllis hippus. I'm so bad with species names, you guys. Hippiastrum. I just have a few oddball plants. I love horticulture. I'm glad I found your channel. Well, I'm glad you did too. And I appreciate you being here. There are a ton of plant channels out there, I've noticed. And it is by no means a competition because I'm subscribed to a lot of plant channels myself. Just because I like to hear what other people have to say. I think that as a user, like of YouTube, it's cool to be able to have a variety of different resources that you can cross-reference with for different plants. And I've tried over time to provide information about plants that maybe are a little bit less common. So things like Alpinia, Applebalis. We were talking earlier about Titanopsis. Just different names that you've maybe never heard of before. So just maybe I can be the first. But yeah, I am bad with orchids. I haven't really tried them a lot. I had a Spathoglotis, which I think, it's not a jewel orchid, but I think it's some sort of terrestrial orchid. It just kind of looked like grass, but it was cool. It never flowered for me, so I ended up getting rid of it, but Amaryllis is cool. Amaryllis typically isn't a house plant, but I know that with the right care, you can keep them in the house. We got a bunch of Amaryllis bulbs in for Christmas at work, and a lot of them started shooting right out of the cup and everything, and they made big, beautiful flowers. Leafier says, I think my Monstera is a miniature variety. It wasn't labeled, but it's so small with tons of foliage, all fully fenestrated. Huh, that's interesting. Well, man, I wish I could see a picture of it, but there is a plant. You said it wasn't labeled, but there's a chance it could be a Rhaphidophora, because Rhaphidophora is actually called a mini Monstera because the leaves are probably about that big, maybe a little bit bigger. And they come out fully fenestrated, just like a Monstera would if it was bigger. You might look that up. Rhaphidophora is the name. Because I know that there are Rhaphidophora plants at Walmart because we had some in the other day. Let me type that in the chat so that you have a reference. Oh, it's not typing. Hang on. I think I spelled that right. And then Cincinnati Drew says, I'm making stained glass orchids right now that live forever and spike. A lot of my friends' family have troubles with them. Huh. Orchids is, I feel like houseplants is a hobby. There's a couple of branches that branch off from like the general hobby, and one of those branches is definitely orchids. Um, I know that I have a friend here, and he loves orchids, and he really gets into them. That's a lot of what he has actually is just orchids. And orchids have beautiful, very complex flowers, so I can see the appeal. And I've seen some that have these very electric blue flowers, and I was so tempted to buy one, but I'm like, but will I be able to keep it alive? Probably not. Yeah, no problem, Leafier. When you said mini monstera, that's immediately what I thought of was Rhaphidophora. There's one Rhaphidophora called, I don't remember what the species name is, but it's also called a shingle vine, and it grows up a wood plank, and they just look like little leaves. They don't have fenestrations or anything. But the one that I'm talking about that you might have is Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, and yeah, they they're neat plants. They do need to be staked up eventually. They do start to get kind of big. Um, I actually gave that to a friend tonight. I had one, and it was just getting so long and kind of out there that I'm like, I don't really want this anymore, because it's just starting to become too much maintenance, and I'm trying to keep things simple. That is interesting that you name your plants. I do like the name Cookie, by the way. Uh, but I have never thought about naming my plants. I don't know. Some people talk to their plants. I don't really do that either unless they're being bad. And I'm like, why are you turning leaves yellow? What are you thinking? You know? Uh, Phalaenopsis. Oh, no, I'm reading the wrong one. Monstera. Well, yeah. Yeah, Monstera deliciosa. I could see that. Maybe that's an idea in the making. A plant-based energy drink, and we'll call it Monstera deliciosa. If somebody comes up with that and makes $1 million, you better remember where you heard it first. Cincinnati Drew yodels at your plants. Well, they say that, I mean, yodeling or singing, there's a couple things that work there. They say that one, carbon dioxide from your breath actually helps your plants grow. And then two, stimulating your plants with positive energy affects their growth. And they've done research in science, like experiments on this, um, where like plants are exposed to negative stimuli and they don't do as well as when they're exposed to like positive stimuli. It's really interesting. It's the power of mood is a lot more potent than I think we realize. Just think about being around somebody that's in a bad mood. Doesn't that kind of like affect you? You know, where you're just like, get that person away from me. Yeah, Leafier, that's true. Actually, they call it Monstera deliciosa for people that don't know because the fruit is supposed to be amazing, like really good. I don't even know where I don't even know where I would get one. I don't even know. I mean, you'd have to live someplace where they grow probably, but I don't think they flower a ton. Um, but yeah, kind of like epiprimnum. Epiprimnum doesn't flower even in nature. Epiprimnum doesn't flower that much, if ever. It took them. It took scientists a long time to even observe the flower of an epiprimnum, and only when they finally did they figure out that it wasn't a pothos. It was in fact epiprimnum. So, um, flowers for a long time. Flowers. I mean, they still are. Flowers are a big indicator of where a plant lies in the the tree of taxonomy. Yeah, Dieffenbachias, they are also in the aroid family, so they're in the family Araceae, and they put off the spadix flowers, the ones that look like a little piece of corn or something, with the little leaf over it, the spathe. Uh, they're really bizarre. They're very plain. Like at least with a peace lily, which is also an aroid, like the white flower stands out against that dark green foliage. But I've noticed that like Dieffenbachia flowers and Aglaonema flowers, they're very boring. But it's cool when it happens, though. I mean, I leave mine, but a lot of people trim them off. We kind of talked about that a little bit earlier. I don't know if you guys were here for that, but boo. Yeah, that's the thing. That's to me, flowering is a sign of a happy plant. If my plant wants to celebrate by flowering, who am I to stop it? Well, you guys may not have seen the plants I was showing earlier then, because I don't know if you guys were here yet, but I'll just show them again real quick with the this Hoya multiflora. It's also called a shooting star Hoya. It was recommended by a friend, and she said it would flower for sure. And sure enough, right, where did it go? Right there. That little thing right there is the flower. Well, I mean, it hasn't flowered yet, but it will. And Hoya flowers actually smell really good, so I'm pretty excited about it. My Hoya obovata flowered, which is the one that was right there, and it smelled pretty cool. It wasn't really strong. Like when you smell a gardenia flower, and it's like, whew, it's like smelling a bottle of perfume. It's not bad, but it's strong. This smell was not as strong, but just as fragrant, if that makes any sense. And then the other one that was kind of flowering, well, it's not kind of flowering, it is flowering, is this aloe pheasant breast. And I've decided that these are pink or peach or somewhere in the middle, but they're beautiful, and they have the little flower parts hanging out. I'm pretty sure that's the pistil hanging out, and that's not like the stamen. I could be wrong. No, that one's definitely a pistil. That little piece hanging out right there, that's definitely the pistil, the female part of the plant. The kind of flowers that plants put out sometimes are just mind-blowing to me. Okay, hi Matt, good to see you. Matt says, Hoya multiflora smells great. They smell like citrus tree flowers. I'm trying to think. I think I smelled the flower of a lemon tree once that was in a greenhouse. Because, of course, where I live, that stuff doesn't grow outside, unfortunately. And it did smell very, very fragrant. So if that's what it's going to smell like, I'm excited. Hopefully that will be soon. I mean, normally it doesn't take flowers too long to bloom. Once a plant starts flowering, it's diverting most of its energy into making that happen. Like it becomes its priority. Why it's flowering in the wintertime, I don't know, but that's okay. Leaf Year has a lemon tree, but it hasn't flowered. I had a citrus plant. It could have been a lemon, but it wasn't even tree sized yet. It was very small. I didn't end up keeping it. I don't remember what I did with it actually, but it was in an unmarked like pot, and they didn't know what it was. It just had a general like barcode on it. They sold it to me for like $5 or something. I'm like, well, I don't know what this is. But when I did my plant scanner thing, I think it said lemon, but it wasn't coffee. I know that because coffee plant has a very specific kind of, it's almost like a ridged leaf. It's kind of crinkled. Coffee plants are cool. Actually, I could have done coffee plant as one of my plant care videos. Coffea, I believe, is the genus name. Hi, Nancy. Nancy says that the flowers will smell amazing too. Okay, good. The unfortunate thing is, for as long as it takes those flowers to bloom, they don't last very long, unless it is a streptocarpus right there, my African violet. The flowers have been on that for a couple of months. They're finally starting to expire. But Leaf here says, I got mine from a lemon I was squeezing over my food and noticed that the seeds were already germinating within the fruit. Huh. So there's a guy, he's not here tonight. I'm kind of surprised. His name is Dragonite Spam, and he likes to take seeds from grocery store fruit and try to, well, and vegetables, if you want to call them that, and try to grow them in the house, which I think is kind of a cool botanical experiment thing to do. Even if they won't last in the house, it's still kind of neat to do that. I kind of did that with, if you guys ever see those little bags of decorative gourds around autumn that are the wrinkled and like green and orange, I chopped some of those up and threw some of those seeds out into the yard, and they actually took. And the next season, I had like a pumpkin vine in my yard. It was, but not a pumpkin. It was like the little decorative gourd plant. So I don't know. That was really neat. I might try to do that again this year. Well, yeah, this year. Oh, lime flowers. You said you smelled. Okay. I've never smelled a lime flower. I need to go someplace this spring when they have all their trees out and stuff, so that I can kind of get a smell of some of that. So Leaf year, do you keep that? I guess I don't know where you live, but do you keep that in your house, or is it something? Do you live in like a warmer climate and you keep it outside? You guys are just making me want to buy plants. Oh, okay. Well, Texas is definitely a warmer climate, but I mean, it's still not Florida, right? Oh, it is indoors. Okay. Do you have it in a like a south-facing window, west-facing window? I think. Oh, hang on. Under a grow light, cat furniture occupies my window. I know that feeling. Uh, so I've got big kind of, they're not necessarily bay windows, but they're like sliding doors that go out onto the patio. I don't have a ton of natural lighting in this house, which is kind of surprising because um, it's such a neat layout of a house, but at the same time, it just doesn't have a ton of windows. So most of what's in front of my windows, as long as I can still get out, I've got a big strelitzia, I've got a phoenix palm, a ficus ali, and another palm called Trachycarpus, which is, I've heard it called windmill palm, but it's called a couple of different things. And it's doing pretty well. Now, near the window on a table, I've got a Ficus elastica shiveriana, which is kind of the lime green one, an Aglaonema, and then further back, I have my aspidistra, which doesn't need a ton of light. And I have if you guys have heard of a Howia palm, which is like a century palm, I had that next to the window and it was getting kind of scorched, so I moved it back and it's doing better. It's still not doing great, which is a little annoying because it was very expensive and I've heard that they're so hardy, but it's, I don't know. And it may just be because it's winter and it's just being a piece of crap, but it's okay. I'm not the most productive in winter either, so I get it. I don't remember what I was talking about. We were just talking about. Oh yeah, no, I remember now. I'm kind of at the point, as far as plants go, I'm kind of at the point where I feel like I've dabbled in most of what you would put into like the houseplant canon of, you know, if somebody asks you to make a list of all the houseplants that are common, that when you go to a greenhouse you find them, I feel like I've done that. So now I am kind of looking at branching into other things. So for example, the lemon tree that you're talking about, leafier, like I wouldn't mind trying to grow something like that that's a little more unconventional, just because why not, you know? To a point, I don't want to have a ton of plants. I don't quite have the space for that or the time to water. That's the biggest drawback for me of having too many plants is when you have to water and it takes a while. It probably takes me about 2 hours when I water, which maybe isn't that long, but it's long enough that I'm like, okay, I don't want to have to keep doing this every week necessarily, but I still do. Oh, there's Ahmad. How's it going, Ahmad? Good afternoon. Well, good evening from the US. I hope things are well in Malaysia. Things are okay here. I mean, the US got slapped with a huge blizzard, and then there's been a ton of fires in Los Angeles, but other than that, things are okay. Nancy says, I've purchased vinyl window covers that helped my plants tremendously, and my house faces southwest. I do mostly keep higher light plants there, but even they would scorch before I got those. That's crazy that they would scorch just from being like that close to the window. I mean, that happens with some plants for sure, like ferns. You don't keep ferns next to the window because unless it's like a nephrolepis. But yeah, I wish I had more intense light like that, because even these big windows I have, there's a tree right outside, so it definitely blocks a portion of the incoming light that I could have. But I will say that when I stuck my strelitzia outside last summer, it still got such good light. Of course, it's outside, but I'm just saying, like, even in the shadow of that tree, it still got so much light that it got at least 6 inches, maybe a foot bigger. I mean, it's probably the tallest plant I have now. So I'm excited to get it back outside. Oh, really? Okay. Well, and like the climate, I'm 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 going through geography in my head. The climate in Malaysia is such that you can keep those kind of things outside, right? Because I mean, making philodendrons flower is really, really difficult indoors. Wow, Nancy, a croton got scorched. Those need so much sun too, it feels like. Well, so much light. So it's kind of crazy that it got scorched. Although, I guess if it was a smaller plant, they can be a little more susceptible to that kind of thing. But one of the big reasons that I almost consider crotons, which is the genus Codiaeum, uh, I almost consider those temporary because most of the time they just don't survive indoors just because of lack of light. Privacy screens for Windows, I found them on Amazon. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Uh, Ahmad says that yes, Malaysia is tropical. That's what I thought because I think I work with somebody that's from not Indonesia. Where's she from? Oh, the Philippines. She's from the Philippines, and she talked about how they have like a wet season. So then, I mean, really, really tropical countries, that is the best environment for houseplants, or for plants in general. I mean, that's why there's so many like different exotic things, in tropical places, because that's where plants want to grow. Uh, I mean, other than desert plants. But he says, how's fellow Congo Rojo is doing the same thing right now. See, that's crazy. I've just never seen a philodendron flower. I mean, I've seen pictures, but in person, I've never seen one. But of course, I live in the central U.S., so that's why. Uh, I did see a Sansevieria, well, Dracaena now. I did see a snake plant flowering once. Um, and I think it was just because it just got shipped from a greenhouse or something, and it had a flower stalk in it. Nancy says that her croton was in a 10-inch pot. A 10-inch pot? That's a big croton. Crotons are really neat too, just because they're very much like autumn colors. I think that's why you see them for sale a lot in autumn, but I've never seen them that big. I guess the ones I see at Lowe's when they had them for sale, they were probably in 8-inch pots. But crotons are kind of cool too because there are different styles of leaves. Like mostly I see the ones that are kind of the narrow leaf, but they have the bigger like flatter leaves too. Codiaeum. I should be saying Codiaeum. I try to use genus names when I can. I like them. I don't love them just because like I can't necessarily keep them indoors, but like I can appreciate them, as plants. Croutons. Mm. Croutons, maybe not by themselves, but croutons sound good. Yeah, like we're probably gonna run the stream for another 18 minutes. I'll probably wrap up at 10 my time. So we still have some time, but I'll probably eat after I get off here because I'm hungry. While you guys are here, because I don't think you guys were here earlier, so maybe you guys can help me real quick. Um, oh, I got some Florida greens at Walmart. Actually, Ahmad. Like I was shipped. I think are they jungle boogies? Is that what they're called? I don't know, but they're kind of the longer philodendron leaf that's kind of serrated, and they're pretty good size. They're in like a 10-inch pot, I think. They're not flowering though. I didn't smell the bloom of the Sansevieria. Maybe I should have. Um, I just didn't even think about it, just because I'm so used to houseplant flowers not smelling like anything. But I can't imagine it could be any worse than like a Stapelia, like the starfish plant or the corpse flower. I did smell one of those once, and it was not nice. I mean, it was a neat experience to smell it, because how does a flower know how to smell like a corpse? But yeah. Purple passion flowers. Didn't know that. So I know some of you are, okay, hang on. Let me write that down, because I'm going to look that up. I'm going to look that up later. Morphophallus titanium. I know some of you are new here. Hang on, I'm just reading your all's conversation. Calorie trees smell like fish. Ugh. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. I've smelled those. The pear trees, they're gross. I don't know why people plant those. They reek. But yeah, I know some of you are like newer here, But I've been trying to get some feedback on if there are any, well, I guess it's not really feedback, but if there are any topics that you would like to hear me cover in a video. Um, I was saying earlier when I first got here that I do have a list, and I may already have the subject on my list. Just because we're kind of winding down on plant care. We've done 107 plant care videos so far. I've got 3 more that are edited and ready to go, and I'm gonna shoot probably 2 more just to make it a nice even number. But after that, I want to get more into like other topics because I really just wanted a solid library of plants that anybody could get on my channel and be like, I bought this plant, let me look it up and find out about it. And I think I've accomplished that. So if you guys have any specific topics that you would like to hear me talk about, I would love to hear. I don't know if I hear crickets or keyboards frantically typing. Okay. Nancy says propagating plants. I did do a propagation video maybe 6 months ago, but I definitely wouldn't mind revisiting it. There are some types of propagation that I didn't cover in that video just because they're not the most common ways to do it. But I need to do a couple of experiments first. Before I do another prop video, I want to do a couple of experiments myself, just because I don't like preaching things if I haven't had the experience myself, you know? So, I don't know. Pests on certain plants. Okay. I did a pest video once, but again, like, it's one of those things that the problem as somebody who creates videos is that after a while, there's a certain like amount of time that those videos are relevant, and then you have to revisit them. So I don't remember when I did the pest one, but I can certainly look at that again. Ahmad says something similar. Can you do a pest management video non-systemic because it's controlled in Malaysia? Only agriculture can use them. Oh, okay. So you mean not like pesticides? Okay, yeah. I got you. So pest management, non-systemic. Okay. And then my brother says, I'll jump in. I'm going to play the brother card. I wear an XL and you have my address. Oh, yeah. I can get you one of these. Yes, I can get you a t-shirt. I've thought about doing like a Bane's Botanicals like merch eventually. I was kind of waiting until I had a few more followers, but yes, Zach, I will get you a shirt. Leaf here says painting pots and making macrame hangers is something I'm into lately. Okay, so like almost like home craft projects involving plants. Okay. I'd have to think about that actually. Etc. Okay. That's not funny. Like 10 years ago, we tried to do like a cooking channel and I made banana bread and it was good banana bread, but I don't know. I was younger and that wasn't really my thing. I will say now that there are a few people here commenting, some of the videos that I am looking at doing, I want to take you guys to more greenhouses. I want to show you some of the places I go so that you can, you know, kind of see where some of the, you know, places I frequent, I guess. Um, I also want to do some more plant science videos, whether that's about the fruits or whether that's about like plant anatomy or kind of plant processes, which we would call like plant physiology, just how plants work. Because I think it's interesting. I think that, you know, when we're into this hobby, it's nice to know kind of how things function a little bit. Ahmad also says plant styling for urban houses, something that looks good without looking like a jungle. Oh, that's actually not a bad idea either. Plant decorating. Okay. I got you. I want to do some more top 5 videos as well, because I know a lot of people liked when I would do top 5s, and I like hearing what other people's top 5s are, so that was always a lot of fun. I haven't done a plant tour yet, but I'm going to. As soon as I'm done kind of pruning through some of my plants, I will definitely do a plant tour video. Yeah. Another person had talked about how talking about like plants in retail, like how the retail market works with plants, which I know something about just because I work in retail with plants. Moving with plants, like if you're moving someplace, you know, that's like a whole ordeal that can become a problem. As somebody who has moved with plants a few times, I've lost a few. My most recent move, I I lost probably 25% of my plants on my own neglect. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm not blaming anybody but myself. Let's see. Winter care for houseplants. Um, I'll probably do another winter care video soon because we're in the middle of winter. Uh, I did a winter video when? Either last year or the year before. Nancy, definitely check out when you get a chance. Scroll through some of my old videos because there may be stuff in there that I've already done that you might actually like. Um, I'll, if I don't do a winter care video, the full thing, I'll probably do a short about it because they increased the shorts on. That sounds weird. They increased the amount of time that shorts on YouTube are to 3 minutes. I can cover that in 3 minutes, but the original video is like 6 or 7, maybe 8 minutes. Matt says, I really like the videos of doing plant care, like showing repottings and other overall general care like that, which isn't really seminar style, but it's fun to watch. Seminar style. I like that, actually. Honestly, I would love to teach a class about plants. That would be amazing. This is how I get that fix about wanting to help people and wanting to teach. This is how I do it. But yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. I need to do more repotting on here, and just in general, I was going to do a video coming up. I would almost title it like Plant Care 101 and just a beginner's crash course in maybe like a 15 or 20-minute video about the bare minimum basics of houseplant care so that anybody could be like let's say I'm new to plants and I go pick up a plant. Let's say it's a ficus lyrata, and I bring it home and I don't know anything about it, and I'm going to be able to come to my channel and go to 2 videos. One, the video I did on ficus, and 2, this video that I'm talking about making. They would just cover everything: light, watering, pots, soil, fertilizer, the whole thing, the basics. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would like to do something like that soon. Sorry, I'm catching up on your all's replies here. Don't worry, Leafier. I will keep you entertained with new content. A video about problem plants. I did a video on difficult plants to take care of. Give me your definition of problem plants, and I can tell you. Wes says psychological benefits of plants. That's not a bad one. I don't remember if we've talked about that. I feel like we broached that briefly when I did like top 5 reasons to own houseplants, and that was one of the reasons. But we need to get back into that. Nancy says, I'll check it out. Perfect. Ahmad says, do you happen to know if Monstera Peru leaves get bigger if they climb? I don't know that off the top of my head. What I know about Monstera Peru, though, is the ones I've owned, I've had a really hard time getting them to grow at all. I think that they grow pretty slowly, and I've seen ones that have pretty big leaves. Of course, I'm not doing the shape right. Maybe about that big. I don't think they're the same as Epipremnum, where if I stake up an Epipremnum and the leaves get gigantic, I don't think Peru leaves do that. But I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure it's not like that. I love Monstera Perus. I love those deeply ridged leaves and everything. I just don't have one because the ones I've had, I can never get them to grow at the rate that I want them to, I guess. Nancy says, I actually stumbled upon this page. I have a Facebook page I co-moderate with a friend of mine. I love talking, teaching, learning about plants. Yes, me too. And this is a way not only that I can help people, but I can interact with people, which I love to do. That's my favorite thing to do, honestly. I look forward to the comments. I do these live streams to interact with you guys. I don't do these for my own benefit by any means. Well, I guess I benefit from it because I enjoy it, but the Facebook page you co-moderate. Okay. So are you local then? Are you in the central US? Ahmad says, evil plants, calatheas. You're not wrong about that. Although I will say there are a couple of plants I would consider more evil than calatheas. If we're talking just about difficulty of care, Hamalomena is probably the number one. I can't stand Hamalomenas. They're so hard to take care of. And they're just so beautiful too. It's annoying, but there was another one I was going to say too. A lot of plants in the Aralia family are really annoying too. It's like Schefflera and Hedera, and even though I have a Hedera sitting over there on the counter. And then Nancy says, calatheas, they are difficult. Yes. Prayer plants in general are difficult. I would say calatheas are probably some of the worst ones. But yeah. The genus Marantacea is just, or I'm sorry, the family Marantacea is just, I don't know. But they're so pretty though. It's hard not to want to try to take care of them. Leafier says, plants that grow too quickly get leggy or are hard to keep alive. Oh, okay. Grow too quickly is an interesting one. You don't really think about that too much. The first thing that came to mind was Ficus lyrata, because it's not that they grow too quickly, but they don't really stop growing even in the home. So a lot of people end up getting rid of them because they get too big. But yeah, no, that's a good one. I just need to go back and do another video kind of on difficult plants in general. Because I think it's good to see what to avoid. Because there are a few plants that are ones you want to avoid, unless you want a challenge. Some people love that challenge. I know I do it sometimes. As I sit here with a maidenhair fern, like one of the harder plants to take care of. I don't know if it'll survive, but I'm going to try it. And Nancy says she's in the Mid-Atlantic. Okay. Okay, then it's not the same Facebook groups that I'm a part of. I'm going to write down difficult plants. Tradescantias do get pretty long pretty fast. The other annoying thing about Tradescantias is that they have a problem with getting leggy, and they don't tend to live super long. Maybe a few years, then they start to not just do very well. So then, like, you just sort of have to propagate them and start over. But I don't know. I don't like dealing with that hassle. Ahmad says, problem with living in tropical countries is that your plants grow all year round. Spend your time chopping them down. Yeah, I guess that's something that here in the U.S. we don't really think about. You know, our plants kind of go dormant, and there are 5 months out of the year where they're not doing anything, so we don't really think too much about pruning them. Most of the pruning, as far as houseplants go, most of the pruning that we do is more like trailing, like vining plants, just because they do grow really fast. I mean, Epipremnum doesn't really ever stop growing. Like, it grows all year long. Leafier says, I have like 1 billion jade plants because they need pruned all the time. I can't throw away the clippings. I know what you mean. Like, when you know you can just start new ones, it's like you don't want to throw a brand new plant away. I don't know. I mean, I get that. I don't have a ton of things I prune, and if I do prune them, it's usually like growth that was just leggy, and I just toss it anyway. But Nancy says, try to scanty. If you cut them between the nodes a few inches, you can create newer, fuller plants. Yeah, and I think that when Tradescantia gets leggy like that, that's what you have to do. Especially because those internodes, as they get leggy, which is a space between the nodes, they start to get really large, and so it's easier to like make clippings and stuff. And as far as houseplants go, the only thing that's even close to the only thing that's close in similarity, that doesn't make any sense either. The only thing that's close to relation to Tradescantia is Geogenanthus. If you guys have ever heard of a Geogenanthus, it's like a really dark leaf, perfectly round leaf plant, and they are both in the same family. The family is escaping me. I think it's Camelliaceae. And you can see that Geogenanthus grows in a similar fashion, albeit significantly slower. And Geogenanthus is really difficult to take care of because they just need the right amount of water. That makes sense, Ahmad. Ahmad. I always want to call you Ahmed. Ahmad. That makes sense. And I guess the only problem here is that we can't grow them as ground cover just because of the winters. But I almost wonder if you didn't try to do like a ground cover in a big pot. Like, let's say I have a big tree houseplant in my house, and I could do Tradescantia in the bottom of the pot as kind of ground cover in that. I just wonder if it would be more successful. Somebody was talking about the other day about doing, she did Photonia in the bottom of her big pots so that the Photonia would always stay like good and wet, because Photonias tip over if they get even a little bit dry. Okay, Nancy, thank you for stopping by. It was nice to meet you too. I appreciate it very much. And yeah, I usually try to do these every couple of weeks. So definitely try to come to the next one. No worries. I hate getting up early. Fortunately, I don't have to anymore, but a bit of a night owl myself. Ahmad asks if there are native North American plants that are house plants. No. The short answer is no, there's not. There are North American plants that you could consider temporary house plants. I'm sure maybe you watched that video, but I don't know. Something about the plants in North America. Now I'm really talking about like from Florida and up. Like, I'm not including Florida because Florida is a lot more tropical. But I mean, most plants in North America, it's hard to explain. They're just more bipolar. So something like an elm tree needs a ton of sun and then it goes dormant, like a hard dormancy. Or how about like a gardenia? A gardenia needs a crap ton of sun and heat in the summer, and then in the wintertime it just wants to like be dormant and be left alone, but not too cold, so that you have to like overwinter it. And there's just, I can't think off the top of my head of any native North American plants that are actually houseplants. Well, that's not true. If we're saying North America, Mexico, Central America, there are a lot of houseplants from Central America that are houseplants. A lot of native plants from that place that are houseplants. But if we're talking about like the United States, no, there's really not. Maybe a cactus from Arizona, but that was a good question, actually. I don't know if you guys saw this cactus earlier, because I think I showed it kind of early, but I'm trying to figure out what cactus it is exactly, if you guys have heard. I mean, it's a Mexican fence post cactus is the common name, but I, I'm trying to figure out what genus it belongs to, because I've heard it belongs to two different ones, um, either Pachycereus or Lophocereus. I just need to do some more research, I think, but it's a pretty cool cactus. I just like how symmetrical it is. Cacti are great. I mean, cacti are amazing houseplants. The fact that they grow slow is a good thing if you want something that's going to maintain its shape for a long time. Um, and most cacti grow fairly slowly. Not all of them. I've had some that grow really fast, and within a couple of years, they're almost too tall for my house. But they're pretty low maintenance. They don't need a ton of water. If you can stick them under a grow light, give them like a sunny spot, they just do really well indoors. So, I mean, that's nice. And they don't need humidity. That's another big thing. So many of our tropical plants need humidity. Need to do another hydroponics video. I never actually did a hydroponics video. If only somehow I could collaborate with Ms. Betty on that, because she is the hydroponics queen. Um, but hydroponics are interesting. It's just the idea of um, growing things in like either semi-hydro or full hydro, and it's kind of its own little branch. Now, obviously, not all plants are suited for that, but there are a lot that are actually. That would make an interesting video. I did one on aquatic plants, and we didn't go too heavy into it because it's not an aquarium channel, but we did do a few, just the basics of if you wanted to get a little aquarium and get a couple of house plants and maybe a fish. It's really easy. Um, Labeled assorted cactus. That is really annoying, actually. Uh, I mean, sometimes you can look if you've done enough research, you can look and kind of figure it out. But with so much like crossbreeding and everything, cacti can be difficult to identify. Hence why I've been having trouble with mine. Hang on, I'm writing down hydroponics. And then Matt says, I believe it's Lophocereus. There's been some reclassification back and forth, but it seems settled on that genus as of now. But things change all the time. Yeah, they do. And I've actually there's been a couple of plant care videos I've done where I go to start doing it and I'm like, oh yeah, I totally know this plant. For example, hemigraphis. So that's going to be like the waffle plants that you might see sold in stores sometimes. Hemigraphis is also known as strobilanthes. And I had no idea that it was called strobilanthes until I started doing the research on it. And I'm like, oh crap. So then I have to like bring that up in my video. The other one was, there was another one that I had to mention both names. I don't remember what it was now. Oh, it was epiphyllum. Epiphyllum is also known, well, epiphyllum and I think it's disocactus are very, very similar. They are still different, I think, but I was going to do a video on epiphyllum and discovered the cactus I had was actually a disocactus. So then I just kind of made it one. Or Hawthoria or Hallworthia and Hallworthiopsis are two different genera, but they're basically the same thing. It's so annoying. But anyway, Lophoserius, that's probably what I'll go with because that's what the name I've seen more is Lophoserius than Pachycereus. And yeah, maybe I'll do that video soon. The short round ones, not the tall stick ones. Round ones are so cute. I have to keep them inside, not suitable for outside in a tropical country, too rainy. Oh yeah, I guess I never thought about that. Yeah, if you do have cacti, they should stay inside. Even on a porch in a tropical country, it would be problematic just because the amount of humidity could be a problem. But yeah. So the round shaped ones tend to be, not always, but they tend to be in the genus Mammillaria. Not always. There are round cacti that are not, you know, but a lot of times you'll hear that shape just referred to as like a Mammillaria shape. The tall ones are usually called like a Cereus shape, Cereus. And that's why, for example, Lophoserius, Pachycereus, you know, some sort of prefix in Cereus tells you that it's like a tall cactus. And then the other shape is Opuntia, which is the paddles, like the rabbit ears, you might hear them called. So like Cylindropuntia, why can't I think of any other ones? But anyway, those, I love Opuntias, but like the problem is that those needles on those things, the spines, are so microscopically sharp. It's crazy. Oh yeah, West Texas, that's basically like New Mexico, and there's like hardly any rain there. I complain about not getting rain here, but we still get rain. It's just not as much as I would like. So we were talking about a little earlier, we were talking about like the plant care videos. Even when I finish my initial list, I'm still gonna make more eventually, but I just want to get into some other videos first. Oh, I totally forgot to bring up the other thing. Well, it's okay. But I wanted to have you guys vote. I want you to pick 2 out of the 4 plants that I'm going to show you. I just want to see what you guys would like to see out of these 4 plants. Hang on though. Leaf here says, have you done any videos about prop lifting, the do's and don'ts? Oh, that's an interesting one. I mean, in general, if something's on the ground, I think it's fair game, but I don't think I would pluck anything off of a plant just because, I don't know. That at that point, I'm like, well, that's a little sketchy. But there's like a succulent called Mother of Millions or Mother of Thousands. It's a clancho or clanco or however you want to say it. You'll find those little seeds on the ground and stuff, and it's just like, well, whatever, you know. But yeah. Ahmad says, keep killing alocasias. Do fine with Colossus colocasia. Well, yeah, colocasias are really more outdoor plants too, and of course they would grow amazing there. It's interesting that you can't have more luck with alocasias, but I mean, as houseplants, alocasias are difficult. I mean, I would put them on a higher tier of difficulty for a number of reasons. I mean, they need just the right amount of water, and they still need pretty good light, And humidity is definitely a factor. They need a little bit higher humidity or their leaves start to suffer. I don't know. And they're really finicky. They don't like a lot of change, kind of like a Ficus benjamina. You move it from one corner to the other and it drops all of its leaves or something. Like that's just how they are. But yeah, so I'm gonna show you guys 4 plants and I want you to pick 2. So one is the Lophocerius is what we're gonna go with for the name. We also have the Pharaoh cactus, which is pretty vicious looking. I have a little Adiantum maidenhair fern. And then I have a succulent in this planter, which is right here, called Titanopsis. And I thought about doing a video on that. But I only want to do 2 for now. So you got to pick 2 out of those 4. Kalanchoe leaf here says. Kalanchoe. Kalanchoe. It almost sounds Native American. I wonder if that's where that word comes from. Kalanchoe. I'm going to type Kalanchoe. Kalanchoe. Did I just move my camera? I did. I bumped it. That's okay. I'm going to type these out real quick. And then, what was the last one? Well, I didn't put 4 on Titanopsis, but that's one of them. Do you have the walking Sansevieria? I think it's cute, but it's expensive here. I've never heard of the walking Sansevieria, but I'm going to put that on my list of things to look up after this. When you said that, I pictured a creepy plant that looks like it has legs, so I don't know. I don't know if I would want that or not. Ieria. Took me a while, but I figured out how to spell Sansevieria by myself. And then they get rid of it as a genus. Matt says, I would like the last 2 because I'm not too into cacti, but they're cool. Okay. Leafier says, I have an unlabeled sucky that sprouted a baby plant from the center of a leaf. So I think it must be some kind of Kalanchoe. It's hard to say too because Kalanchoe, I'm never going to get used to that. They come in so many different shapes and things that, I mean, it's hard to say. Well, I mean, a lot of succulents kind of look similar anyway, if you don't know what you're looking for. So like there are some Kalanchoe plants that maybe look like jade plants if you're just not really paying attention. But of course, most of us probably know that. The only problem I have with a maidenhair fern is that it's just so difficult to take care of. I just don't feel like it's something that most people are going to care about because really it just belongs in a terrarium. And even then, you know, it's not. Ahmad says they shoot out runners above the ground to propagate. Their new roots look like legs. Really? I wonder if I can just bring up a picture. Let's see. Sansevieria. What did you call it? Oh, walking. Oh. Huh. That is interesting, actually. Well, so I don't know if you guys will be able to see how it kind of looks like it's standing up out of the ground And when it puts out a new runner, it looks like it's walking. Hang on, let me find another picture. Like here's one in a pot that's putting out a runner. Huh. That's that's weird, man. Wow. I mean, I definitely don't hate it. I mean, I like it. I'd have to. You said they're expensive. Hmm. I'd have to find one. Right now, the Sansevieria, if we're calling it that, and not Dracaena, the one I have is it's a white one. I don't remember exactly what variety it is. It's not moonshine. It's actually white, and just has some light green in it as well. Um, it's doing really well. I actually left it on my porch a couple summers ago. Have I had that thing that long now? Wow. A couple summers ago. Didn't water it for like 3 months and it survived. I don't know how, but it's the hardiest plant. Honestly, when I do another kind of like top 5 easiest plants video, that Sansevieria probably goes at the top, or Dracaena. I mean, all species of Dracaena are pretty easy to take care of, so I don't know. That might actually win. Um, Leafier says, I would not want that in my plant collection. The one by itself didn't look too bad. The one where they were like in the garden and it looked like all of these plants were getting up and walking, that was a little scary, but especially if it was nighttime. Oh, okay. Leafier says, air plants and lithops are the easiest for me to take care of. I have never had good luck with lithops, and it's probably because I don't leave them alone enough. Even though I'm a frequent underwaterer, like, I don't know, lithops just never do well for me. I don't know why that is. Tillandsia is cool, the air plants. It's just a matter of remembering when to mist them and when to soak them. But the last one, I gave away the last one I had. It was doing well. The one I had before that ended up getting root rot by accident just because I thought I had left it upside down long enough to dry out, but then when I turned it back over, there must have been just a little bit of moisture at the bottom and it rotted it. But that's okay. Of course, Tillandsias are actually in the bromeliad family, which until about a year ago, I didn't know that. I thought Tillandsia was just kind of its own thing, but it's a bromeliad. Mm. Well, if I have ever another one, I'll go by that logic and see if that does any better. One other thing I was going to mention probably before I go was I'm thinking about doing another series about and Matt, you if you're still here, you might be interested in this. I was thinking about doing a series shorter than the plant care video series I did. This would probably be maybe 10 or 12 videos showcasing kind of the middle taxonomy of plants. So looking more at like the orders and the families. For example, uh, like the Aralia family. You know, that can teach you a little bit about how certain plants are going to behave based on what family they're in. And of course, the Aralia, that's Araliaceae, and that you're looking at Schefflera, Fatsia, Hedera, I think Plurendra is in that as well. Um, like those are all plants that get spider mites really easily, you know, and they're also plants that tend to have leaf drop when they don't have the appropriate water. Schefflera especially is really bad about that. I don't know. I just thought about doing something like that. You know, we can look at the Araliaceae, which is the aeroids, and so many of our houseplants are in the aeroid family. We don't even realize it. Um, or what's another one like the uh, Cactaceae, of course, or uh, what's the one that has Hoya in it? Is it Azoiaceae? Or am I thinking of a different one? I think it's azoacea. Anyway, just something different, something interesting, just to get more into the science of it just a little bit, you know. I know that I've got at least a few people on the channel that are interested in that. Okay. Well, cool. So then that's a vote yes from you. Now, of course, it's not always going to stand the test of time. I mean, we both know that, you know, they move stuff around, and that's just kind of what happens. But there are some plants that are pretty permanent. You know what I mean? Like, um, you know, like epipremnum is probably always going to be an aroid because it is an aroid. They can't really move it out of that family unless they just discovered something amazing and life changing. You know what I mean? But um, I have a chart that I created on my computer, kind of delineating all of the different rankings and everything, just for houseplants, not for any other plants. And I need to figure out a way to get that document to you guys because I have other documents like that I would love to share because that's what I do sometimes in my free time is nerdy plant stuff. Um, yeah, yeah, I think that would be fun. So okay, I will start to think about that. I will start brainstorming on that, and hopefully soon you'll see something like that. All right, well, I'm going to wrap this up in about 3 minutes. So if you guys have any last minute questions, last minute comments, now's the time. If you guys are typing while you're typing, I will say that I appreciate everybody that watched, everybody that came, and everybody that's been commenting. Welcome to anybody that's new. I'm really grateful that you're here. Really glad that I've gotten to see some of you guys and interact with some of you guys because that is ultimately my favorite thing in the world. I love plants and I love getting to share plants with you guys, but more importantly, I love getting to hear from you guys. So that's why I love doing live streams and, you know, why I do the videos too. So. And my cat's looking at me like, when are we going to eat? It's okay with a baby. Okay, let's see. Leaf here says some people pronounce pothos like pothos, and some say pothos. I've heard pothos. To me, let me think of an example word. I think either one works. Just because it's a proper name, it's not like an English word anyway. But honestly, we shouldn't be saying pothos anyway. We should be saying epipremnum, which is a way cooler word to say. But that's usually what I tell people when they're like, is it pothos or pothos? I'm like, well, technically it's epipremnum, but I'm pothos just because when I was studying English, we had to study some Greek words and things like um, ethos and like logos. You know, logo is like the same sound. So logos versus pothos. That's just it's similar enough in my head that that's why I've always said pothos. But either one works. And then I'm sorry, damn. Ahmad said, um, "Do you know if Anubias would climb out of the water if the wood sticks out?" That's a good question. Honestly, I wonder if it would depend on the species of Anubias, because Anubias is the easiest aquatic plant there is. Um, I don't think there is an easier species or easier genus of aquatic plants than Anubias. So that would be something you should maybe try to experiment with. See if you can pick one up, and instead of putting it in like an aquarium, put it in something shallow and see if it'll do that. Because I'm curious if I had one, let's say I have one in a shallow bowl and some of the leaves are sticking out, would they dry out or would the plant still be okay because the rest of it's submerged? I don't know. I know some aquatic plants, they would just wither, but there's a few good, genera of aquatic plants that are easy, like a Sagittaria and a Geria. What is what? There's one I'm missing. The Amazon sword. What is it called? Crap. There's another one that's really easy. I just can't think of what it is off the top of my head. And I think it starts with it. Oh, Echinodorus. Echinodorus. I knew I would think of it. Yes, thank you, Leafier. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing more from you as well. So on the next videos or even older videos, go back and comment. I'd love to hear some of your observations and opinions. And that goes to everybody. Like if you go back, I don't care if it's a video from a year ago. If you want to say something interesting, I'll go look at it. I reply to almost every comment that people leave, you know, so yeah. Is it 10:30? Oh, it's after 10:30. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up, guys. Thank you again so much for coming. It was really nice meeting some of you. Well, it was really nice meeting all of you. Matt, Leaf here, Ahmad. You and I have known each other for a little bit now. Cincinnati Drew, thank you. Nancy, I know she went to bed. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Until the next time, I will see you very soon. Thank you, and good night.